Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about how to build a private, super-fast connection directly into the AWS cloud. Now, this isn't your average internet hookup. We're talking about an enterprise-grade solution for those workloads that absolutely cannot fail. Think massive financial transactions, real-time data processing, the kind of stuff where performance, stability, and security are everything. All right, here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to dig into the core problem that Direct Connect was built to solve. Then, we'll unpack what it actually is, look at its key building blocks, see how it's used in the real world, and then learn how to make it totally bulletproof. By the end of this, you're going to have a complete playbook for building a truly top-tier hybrid network. So let's start with the fundamental challenge, right? More and more businesses are moving their most critical operations to the cloud. But that entire strategy is only as strong as its weakest link. And you know what? A lot of the time, that weak link is the connection itself. How you bridge your own data centers with the AWS cloud can literally make or break your entire operation.
Now, for a lot of people, the go-to option is a standard site-to-site VPN that runs over the public internet. And look, it's quick, it's pretty cheap, and it gets the job done. For a while. But what happens when your business grows, when your data needs explode? Well, you start hitting annoying bottlenecks, you experience unpredictable lag, and you quickly realize that the public internet is a shared and, frankly, pretty chaotic resource.
And when you actually put them side by side, the difference is just night and day. A VPN is kind of like taking public roads during peak rush hour. You're stuck in traffic, competing with everyone else, your speed is limited, latency is all over the place, and there are absolutely no guarantees. Direct Connect, on the other hand, well, that's your own private, multi-lane superhighway straight into AWS. We're talking massive bandwidth, rock-solid low latency, and a formal service-level agreement that actually guarantees its performance.
Okay, so if a VPN is the public road, what exactly is this private highway? Let's get a really clear definition of what AWS Direct Connect, or just DX for short, is all about.
And here it is, the single most important thing to get your head around. Direct Connect is a physical, private connection. Yeah, we're literally talking about a dedicated fiber optic cable running from your building right into an AWS facility. And by completely bypassing the public internet, you get to sidestep all that chaos and unpredictability. You get consistent, high-speed performance that you can actually count on.
So how do we actually build this thing? To build this highway, you really need to understand its three core parts. Think of them as the on-ramp, the highway itself, and then the off-ramp. Getting these three pieces right is absolutely crucial. First up, you've got the DX location. This is a physical place, a big data center like an Equinix, where AWS and a ton of network carriers all meet up. This is your on-ramp. From there, your fiber plugs into an AWS DX router. And finally, you create what's called a virtual interface, or a VIF. That's the logical lane on your private highway that's dedicated to carrying your traffic over that physical wire. Now, these VFs, these virtual lanes, come in three main flavors, and knowing the difference is a huge deal, especially for exams. A private VF is just what it sounds like. It connects you to your private networks in the cloud, your VPCs. A public VF is for getting to public AWS services like S3 or DynamoDB, but, and this is super important, it does this without touching the public internet. And finally, you've got the transit VF, which is the modern workhorse. It connects to a transit gateway, which is like a central cloud router, letting you easily scale out to hundreds of VPCs at once. Okay, so now let's see how all these pieces actually snap together in the real world. We're going to look at a few common designs, starting with the old school way and then moving to the modern industry standard.
So the traditional way to do this was to connect your Direct Connect link to something called a virtual private gateway, or a VGW. But here's the catch. A VGW is tied to a single VPC. That's fine if you only have one, but it becomes a total management nightmare if you've got 10 or 50 or 100 of them.
And that brings us to the modern standard, the Transit Gateway, or TGW. Instead of connecting to every single VPC, you just connect your Direct Connect link once to the TGW using a transit VIF. The TGW then acts as a central hub, a cloud router that can connect out to hundreds of VPCs. It's just a beautifully scalable and clean hub-and-spoke design. And if we look to the future, this gets even more powerful. Big global companies are now starting to combine Direct Connect with tech like SD-WAN and AWS Cloud WAN. And what's the goal? It's to create a single, unified global network that connects everything, their data centers, their branch offices, and even multiple AWS regions, all managed from one spot. It's really the ultimate vision of a seamless hybrid cloud network.
So having a private highway is awesome.
But even the best highway can have a roadblock or an accident, right? So what happens if your main direct connect link goes down for some reason? Let's talk about high availability.
You know, the #1 rule for any critical piece of infrastructure is this: no single points of failure. And that's why the industry best practice isn't just to use Direct Connect alone, but to pair it with a backup. You use your high-speed DX link as your main route and a simple, cost-effective site-to-site VPN as your automatic failover. You really get the best of both worlds.
So how does the network know to switch over automatically? Well, it all works thanks to a core internet routing protocol called BGP. The easiest way to think about BGP is like a GPS for your network traffic. We basically tell the GPS that the route through Direct Connect is a super fast, multi-lane highway, so it should always be the first choice. We tell it the route through the VPN is a slower local side road. Your traffic will always take the highway if it's open. But if there's an accident and that highway closes, the GPS instantly reroutes all the traffic to the side road, your VPN backup. It's completely automatic. All right, to wrap things up, let's do a quick rapid-fire Q&A. These are some of the most common questions you're going to face in an exam or a technical interview about Direct Connect, so let's make sure you've got these nailed down.
First up, and this is a huge one for security, since this is a private link, is all the data flying across it automatically encrypted?
And the answer, and you absolutely have to remember this, is no. The connection is private, but it is not encrypted by default. The best way to think about it is like you have a private sealed tunnel, but the cars driving inside aren't locked. If you need to lock the cars, for compliance, you have to add that encryption yourself. For really high-speed links, that usually means using a tech called MACsec, but that's only available at certain DX locations.
Okay, next question. The name public VIF causes so much confusion. Does public mean it's your new gateway to the entire public internet?
That is a definite no. A public VAF is designed for one thing: to let you access the public endpoints of AWS services, like S3 or DynamoDB, without your traffic ever leaving the AWS global network. It is not, and I'll say it again, it is not a general-purpose gateway to the rest of the internet.
And there you have it. We've gone all the way from the basic problem of a slow, unreliable connection to designing a resilient, private highway to the cloud. You now get what DX is, you know its core building blocks, you understand the modern architecture with Transit Gateway, and you know exactly how to back it up so it never fails. You've got the complete playbook.
So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. Now that you know how to build this private, high-performance highway into the cloud, the real question is, what amazing things are you going to build on top of it?